Nuclear power, dirty, dangerous, expensive. Next on Enviro-Close Up. Welcome to Enviro-Close Up. I'm Karl Grossman. The subject, nuclear power, dirty, dangerous, expensive. And I get those words from a brochure put out by an organization called Beyond Nuclear. Here is the brochure. Again, dirty, dangerous, expensive. The brochure adds on its cover, "The verdict is in on nuclear power." With me is Kevin Camps, who works for Beyond Nuclear. Let's amplify on television the points made in this brochure.
Well, dirty, dangerous, and expensive is a good way to remember the different problems with nuclear power. So dirty, it's radioactively polluting at every step of the way, from uranium mining to milling to processing to enrichment to use of the uranium fuel in reactors, and then the radioactive waste dumps that come after that. So in a sense, it's dirty forever. Because, for example, at the Yucca Mountain dump site proposal in Nevada, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency recognizes 1 million years of regulation are required at Yucca Mountain. So 1 million years of radiological hazard recognized by the federal government. And that's actually not the whole story, because there are radioactive poisons. Just one would be iodine-129, which has a 15.7 million year half-life. Then you got to multiply by 10 to get the hazardous persistence. That's 157 million years. So EPA is only willing to recognize 1 million years of hazard. That's the dirtiness of nuclear power. But it starts right at the very beginning with the uranium mines, which oftentimes are located on Native American land in this country, indigenous peoples' lands in places like Australia or Niger in West Africa. So dangerous. What's dangerous about nuclear power? Well, the risks of accidents or attacks unleashing catastrophic amounts of radioactivity. So the worst accident in the history of commercial nuclear power happened at Chernobyl in the Ukraine in 1986. And 200 tons of radioactive fuel first exploded and then burned for 10 days. Not only the fuel, but the core of the facility was made out of graphite, and they couldn't put the fire out. And that radioactivity was blown sky high, and then it fell out over Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia. About 50% of the radioactivity fell out in those three countries. The other 50% went around the world. It fell out over Europe. We got fallout here in the United States. So that's a part of the danger of a severe catastrophic accident. Another part of the danger with nuclear power is that wherever it goes, nuclear weapons can also go. So the International Atomic Energy Agency at the United Nations recognizes that 40 countries in the world, if they chose to, could become nuclear weapons powers in very short order. And how would they do it? They would do it with their nuclear power technology. We've already seen this take place. India did this in 1974, just as one example. So that's another danger of nuclear power, is the proliferation of nuclear weapons. And sort of a hybrid of those dangers, the dangers of accidents and weaponry, would be the risk of a terrorist attack upon a nuclear power plant in this country. Unfortunately, the waste that's generated at nuclear power plants takes that natural uranium, passes it through the reactor core, and makes it 1 million times more radioactive than it was as fresh fuel. And then that waste is stored in indoor pools of water. Those have filled at most nuclear power plants now. They're packed to the gills, and they've gone to this outdoor storage in silos of concrete and steel, the overflow parking for high-level radioactive waste. Unfortunately, these waste storage facilities are vulnerable to attack. Especially certain reactor designs have pools that are several stories up in the air and share pool walls with the outside of the facility. And there's a report from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission which shows that if the pool water is drained, it would only take a matter of hours at most before the waste would spontaneously combust, and you would have an accident much worse than Chernobyl. because Chernobyl was 200 tons of nuclear fuel. Some of the pools in the country have several-fold more quantity of high-level radioactive waste in them than that. And even these outdoor silos were never designed to withstand a terrorist attack. So that's another danger. And the expensive part, you could not come up with a more expensive way to boil water, because that's what nuclear power does. It boils water, it makes steam, the steam turns a turbine and makes electricity. It's very expensive. The price tag on a new atomic reactor in this country, and this comes from the chairman of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, he said a good ballpark number is $10 billion. Well, it's going up from there. It's skyrocketing as we speak. And that's just one step of the uranium fuel chain. There's also the mining, the milling. All of those facilities are hugely expensive, so expensive that Wall Street will not touch this industry. It will not risk its money on atomic energy. The only way that this is going to happen is if taxpayers pick up the tab.
With nuclear power being indeed so dirty, dangerous, and expensive, and the verdict being in, why the push? There's 104 nuclear plants in the U.S. There's now this drive to double that number, to, they call it revive nuclear power. This is what the nuclear industry calls it. Like, why?
Well, for the industry, a relapse into nuclear power puts dollar signs in their eyes. They love the money they make at this industry. Of course, all of the costs and the risks are borne by taxpayers, ratepayers, and the public, so they pocket the profits. And a typical figure for net profits at an operating nuclear power plant, a ballpark figure, is $1 million a day in net profits from electricity sales. So when you have none of the costs or risks and all of the profits, then you're really into that. And that's why it has to be stopped, because this is an industry that's out of control. It gives a whole new meaning to the term moral hazard from economics, because this is a moral hazard with not only financial risks, but radiological risks associated with it. And of course, this money grab at the US Treasury for all these subsidies to build the new generation of atomic reactors, there'd be no skin in the game whatsoever by this private industry.
With every U.S. administration since nuclear technology began in the late 40s for it. I mean, even now, Barack Obama talking about clean, safe nuclear power and promoting a loan guarantee program of billions of dollars. How can it be stopped?
Well, the American people are the ones who are going to have to stop it, and we're seeing that all across the country. Most of the 36 new reactors that are in progress at this point are targeted at the southeastern United States. And that was very strategic too. Places with operating reactors were mostly targeted because those local governments have been bought off already with tax revenues from these facilities. There's a workforce at those plants that also raises support levels in the local area. But there are groups in the southeast and across the country that are fighting these new facilities, that are shining a spotlight on the environmental injustices associated with reactors and waste dumps. So the fight is on, and people can plug into the fight. There are many great groups working this issue. People could get involved. It's really important that folks contact their members of Congress, both of their senators and their representative, and say to them that the nuclear power industry has to financially stand on its own 2 feet in the free marketplace. No more subsidies. They've already gotten hundreds of billions of dollars of our money in the past 50 years. And now they are asking for perhaps $1 trillion of our money. So folks need to stop the next bailout before it happens, because these are preemptive bailouts for the nuclear power industry.
How can people connect with Beyond Nuclear?
Well, our website is www.beyondnuclear.org, and you've got a wide variety of informational sites right there at our homepage. And our phone number is area code 301-270-2209, and we'd be happy to help folks fight nuclear facilities or proposed ones in their neck of the woods.
Now, Beyond Nuclear rather uniquely connects nuclear power, you were talking about it before, in fact, to nuclear weapons.
The simple truth is, wherever nuclear power goes, nuclear weapons are a half step behind. Once a country has nuclear power facilities, they can choose to direct them into a nuclear weapons program. And the pathways for that are uranium enrichment, like the Hiroshima bomb was a uranium bomb during World War II. And it's the whole issue with Iran is the Iranian regime is saying, no, this is peaceful nuclear electricity we're pursuing. That's why we're enriching uranium, for fuel for our reactors. Whereas others are suspicious that uranium enrichment might actually be for making weapons. Well, that can happen anywhere in the world where uranium enrichment takes place. So the International Atomic Energy Agency recognizes 40 countries that could go nuclear in terms of weapons based on their nuclear power programs. And the other pathway to the bomb is reprocessing of radioactive waste. When you extract plutonium, it is now weapons usable. And that's how the Nagasaki bomb was manufactured and designed, was a plutonium bomb. So it's very dangerous to spread nuclear power technology. And there was even a congressional commission that agreed with this position that nuclear power subsidies, even here in the United States, are giving a green light to such subsidies in other countries. And once you've built uranium enrichment or reprocessing facilities, you can use them for weapons purposes. So there's recognition at the federal level that this is the case. Unfortunately, the Obama administration is going the other way.
Kevin Camps of Beyond Nuclear. Check out its website, www.beyondnuclear.org. You've been watching Enviro-Close Up. I'm Karl Grossman. For a copy of this or any Enviro-Close Up, just go to our website, www.envirovideo.com. Thank you for watching.